So what if you've been living with a tiny, incredibly observant roommate who has actually just been mapping your soul for years?
Oh, I love that framing. Just taking mental notes.
Right. Like just waiting for you to finally learn their language. You go about your day, making your coffee, walking around the living room, and, there they are.
Sitting on the edge of the sofa.
Yeah, or the top of the stairs. And you're a caring owner, right? You feed them, you provide for them. But there's a very real chance they're waiting for um, a specific type of connection from you that you literally cannot buy in a pet store.
You really can't. And that's what makes today's deep dive so important.
Exactly. We're looking at this fascinating research compiled by the creator Whiskerpaw, and it basically argues that we've been loving our cats completely wrong.
Because we tend to treat them like primates.
Yes, when what they really need is for us to treat them like felines.
That primate versus feline distinction, I mean, that is just the perfect place to start. We unconsciously project our own evolutionary needs onto this entirely different species.
Because we're primates, so we show affection through, grabbing.
Grabbing, holding, squeezing, making constant physical contact. We want to pull the things we love right close to our chests.
Which feels like love to us.
Right, but to a feline, that kind of unprompted physical restraint isn't love. It's terrifying.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
So this deep dive, it's really about a fundamental paradigm shift for you, the listener. It is about unlearning that human-centric affection and building a cross-species connection entirely on their terms.
Okay, let's unpack that, because to understand a cat's mind, the source material makes it clear we first have to understand how they process their physical environment.
Which is so different from ours.
Right. And it begins with how they view vertical space. Because, we've all seen it. Your cat scales the bookshelf or they jump to the very top of the kitchen cabinets.
And what's our immediate primate response?
We pull them right back down to the ground. We scold them like, get off the furniture.
Which completely undermines their natural neurological wiring.
Because they're not just pets, right?
Exactly. Historically, cats occupy this very unique space in the food chain. They are predators, yes, but they are also small enough to be prey for larger animals.
So they have that dual nervous system going on.
Yes, so they are hypervigilant. In the wild, height is not like a luxury or a game. It is literally a biological life insurance policy.
I want to visualize that for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Imagine living in a house made entirely of glass, located right on the ground floor in the middle of a busy, chaotic city.
Oh, that sounds incredibly stressful.
Right. People are walking past, cars are honking. You have zero privacy, zero strategic advantage.
You're just exposed.
Exactly. Now, compare that to moving into the penthouse suite on the top floor. Nobody can reach you, your back is protected, but you can survey everything happening below.
You would absolutely want the penthouse if you felt anxious.
100%.
And that perfectly illustrates the environmental stress they feel on the ground. When they are on the floor, their prey drive circuitry is active. They are vulnerable from 360 degrees.
So being up high, it turns that off.
It allows them to switch off that vulnerability, yeah. The Whiskerpaw research highlights a veterinary recommendation that gets right to the heart of this. The quote is, "Give her a throne instead."
A throne. I love that.
It's so accurate. When you clear a single high shelf in your living room, like completely empty it of books or plants, and dedicate it exclusively to them, the physiological changes are actually measurable.
Like you can physically see the tension drain out of them. They stop hiding under the bed all the time.
Yeah, their cortisol levels drop. They are no longer spending all this energy calculating escape routes. By allowing them to own a vertical space, you give them environmental control.
They finally feel secure enough to just watch the world go by.
Without actively defending themselves against it, right?
So let's say we've done that. We've given them the penthouse. They feel safe, their stress is lowered, and eventually, they decide to come down to the ground.
Which leads to a really fascinating behavioral crossroad.
Yeah, the research calls this the quiet test. And it is a test most humans fail spectacularly without even knowing they were taking it.
The setup for this is something basically every cat owner experiences daily. Your cat wanders into the room and decides to sit down just like a few feet away from you.
Yeah, they aren't asking for food.
They aren't touching you. They are simply existing in your general vicinity.
And our immediate primate instinct kicks in. We see this incredibly cute creature sitting there, and we immediately reach our hand out to pet them.
And the moment we do,
they stand up, turn around, and walk out of the room. We feel so rejected. But according to the source, the test was actually over before our hand even reached them.
Because we failed by moving at all.
Exactly.
The underlying behavioral science here is brilliant. The video brings in research from Dr. Mikel Delgado at UC Davis, whose work focuses on feline behavior.
Oh, her research is great.
It really is. She reveals that for a cat, trust is built predominantly through proximity, not physical contact.
Just sharing the invisible bubble of space.
Right. Sharing space without an agenda. Territorial animals view space as a highly valuable resource.
Right. It's not just empty air to them.
No, so when your cat chooses to occupy the space right next to you, they are essentially asking, can I trust you to let me just exist here? Or are you going to force an interaction the second I drop my guard?
Okay, I have to play the devil's advocate for the listener here, because understanding this logically and actually practicing it are two completely different things.
Oh, it's so hard to do.
It is. Holding back and doing literally nothing when a cat is loafed up right next to you feels completely unnatural. We have this psychological urge, cute aggression, almost to reward them for coming close.
We want to squeeze them.
We really do. We want to reinforce the behavior with touch.
But we have to remember that paradigm shift we talked about earlier. Next time they sit near you, the most profound way to show affection is restraint.
You just let the silence hold.
You let them be the ones to decide if they want to cross that final foot of distance. By resisting the primate urge to grab, you prove that you are a safe presence who respects their autonomy.
Okay, so let's say we pass that quiet test. We hold the silence, we restrain ourselves, and the cat realizes we are safe.
They pass the test.
Right. And they decide they actually do want contact, so they start walking toward us to initiate it. How we receive that approach is just as critical, right?
Because we have to respect their primary sensory tool. We navigate the world primarily through sight and sound. We trust what we see.
But for them, it's all about smell.
Yes, their olfactory system is the dominant lens through which they process reality. Their nose is roughly 14 times sharper than ours.
14 times sharper. That means they're literally reading the air.
Exactly.
They're taking in chemical data about where we've been, what we've eaten, and what our stress levels are. So when we just swoop in and start aggressively scratching their head,
We are completely bypassing their entire security system.
it makes me think about how we process surprise. Reaching out to pet a cat before letting them smell you first. It's like someone sneaking up behind you in a pitch-black room, covering your eyes and whispering, "Guess who?"
That is terrifying.
Right. It triggers panic, not affection. You need to turn the lights on first. And for a cat, turning the lights on means letting them smell you.
That is a fantastic analogy. The visual of a giant hand descending toward their face without an olfactory introduction triggers a major threat response.
So what's the actionable takeaway here for the listener?
It's a mechanism known as the finger hello. Instead of the descending hand, you extend one single finger at their nose level, and you hold it about 2 inches away from them.
Just one finger.
Yep, and then you wait.
You do not close that final gap yourself.
No, you let them lean in and bump their nose against your finger. There is a deeply rooted biological reason for this.
It's about their scent glands, right?
Exactly. Cats have scent glands on their cheeks and around their mouths. When they press those glands against your extended finger, they are physically marking you with their scent.
So they're claiming you as safe territory.
Yes. That nose bump is their explicit consent. It is literally the feline equivalent of a handshake.
And if you do this every single time you meet, even when you're just, passing each other in the hallway, you become the most respectful human in their world.
Because you are constantly asking for permission to enter their sensory bubble.
But that raises a massive logistical problem. The finger hello works brilliantly if we're sitting still, but eventually, we have to stand up.
We do.
You have to walk across the living room. And the moment we do that, we completely shatter the physical equity we just built. To a cat, you are a titan.
You're a towering, unpredictable, moving building.
The physical disparity is just staggering when you view it from their perspective at floor level.
We are giants with really heavy footfalls. This brings us to a super fascinating piece of research from Dr. John Bradshaw at the University of Bristol.
Okay, what did he find?
His studies concluded that cats do not have a separate behavior register for humans.
Meaning they don't have, a human protocol file in their brain and a cat protocol file.
Exactly. They treat us as fellow cats, specifically very large, incredibly clumsy cats.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
But it makes so much sense.
Think about how a cat shows affection to you. They raise their tail straight up. They rub their head against your shins. They need your lap.
Oh, like making biscuits.
Right. These are exact behaviors kittens use with their mothers or adult cats use with their preferred feline companions. They apply their feline social language directly to us.
Which explains so much. If they view us as enormous cats, our towering physical presence is naturally intimidating just by sheer scale.
So the source suggests a practice to counteract this.
Getting down into their world by sitting on the floor for 10 minutes daily.
10 minutes of dedicated floor time is perhaps the most active thing you can do to build a bond.
Wait, really? Just sitting on the floor?
Yes. When you bring your physical body down to their level, you fundamentally alter the power dynamic of the room. You transition from being an overhead threat to being a peer sharing their actual living space.
I have to pause you there, though, because my immediate thought is, if I suddenly drop down to the floor and stare at my cat, doesn't that just make me look like a giant predator that's suddenly crouching to pounce?
That is a very fair point.
Like, how do they know I'm relaxing and not hunting them?
That is a crucial distinction. It all comes down to posture and intention. If you crouch tensely, face them directly, and lock eyes, yes, you are mimicking a hunting sequence.
Okay, so don't do that.
Don't do that. But if you sit flat on the floor, relax your shoulders, angle your body slightly away from them, and maybe read a book or look at your phone, you are broadcasting passive, non-threatening energy.
You showing them you are vulnerable, too.
Exactly. There is a story in the Whisker Paw research about a rescue cat owner who simply started sitting on her kitchen floor for 10 minutes every single day doing nothing.
And what happened?
Eventually, this incredibly timid rescue started creeping over and actually sleeping in her lap.
Wow. So the physical equity created the safety needed for that proximity we talked about earlier.
You really did.
Okay, so we've solved the physical space, we stopped towering over them, we're on the floor. But we aren't just physical objects in a room. We are social creatures.
We need to communicate.
Exactly. How do we actually bridge the communication gap? Well, it turns out we don't have to guess. They already built a bridge specifically for us.
The evolution of feline vocalization, this is truly captivating science.
It blew my mind.
Because in the wild, adult cats rarely meow at each other. They communicate with other cats through scent, body language, and specific ear and tail movements.
So the meow is just for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
The meow, that vocalization your cat directs at you when you walk into the kitchen, is an evolutionary adaptation designed almost entirely for humans.
I want to make sure the listener grasps the weight of that. Over thousands of years of domesticating themselves alongside us, they realized we were practically blind to their subtle body language.
And we couldn't read their scent markers.
Right, so they invented a vocal language just to talk to us.
The video cites Dr. Atsuko Saito at Sophia University, who conducted these extensive experiments on feline vocal recognition.
And what did she prove?
She proved that cats not only distinguish their owner's voice from the voices of strangers, but they actually tailored the frequency and pitch of their meows to best trigger human caregiving responses.
They are literally hacking our brains.
They really are. They are actively manipulating the acoustic space to cross the gap between our species.
And the absolute tragedy here is how we usually respond. They invented a word to talk to us, and we either ignore it or we assume they just want food.
We treat the meow like a fire alarm that we just need to turn off by putting kibble in a bowl.
Exactly. We fail to recognize it as a bid for connection.
So the actionable advice here requires zero special skills. You do not need to, mimic their sounds. You just need to answer them.
So when you are making coffee tomorrow and they look up and meow, just tell them what you were doing.
Yeah, say, I'm making coffee, how is your nap in the sun?
The words don't matter at all. Right?
Not at all. The tone and the reciprocity matter. Answering back proves to them that their voice holds weight in your shared territory.
It turns a living arrangement into a two-way dialogue.
Reciprocity validates their attempt to communicate. It signals that you are an active participant in the relationship, not just an automated food dispenser.
Okay, so we have this incredible roadmap now. We understand the need for a high throne to calm their nervous system. We know about passing the quiet test by letting them share our space without grabbing them.
All right.
We know how to use the finger hello to respect their olfactory world. We know the power of sitting on the floor to become a peer. And we know we have to answer their vocalizations.
It's a lot, but it's very doable.
It is. But I guarantee someone listening is thinking, I'm going to try this tonight, and my cat is still going to stare at me and just walk away.
Setting realistic expectations is vital here because this is behavioral science, not magic. You cannot rush trust.
Especially with rescues.
Yes. The source material is remarkably honest about the timeline, particularly for rescue cats or cats with histories of trauma. It explicitly warns that for some, it can take months for them to respond to these environmental and behavioral changes.
Months of offering the finger hello and being ignored. That requires a massive amount of patience.
It does, but the video frames this waiting period with a profoundly empathetic concept. The quote is, "The waiting is not rejection, it is healing."
Waiting is not rejection, it is healing. Wow.
Right. A cat that has learned to view humans as unpredictable threats needs time to rewrite those neural pathways. Every time you pass the quiet test, every time you offer a finger instead of a grabbing hand, you are slowly depositing trust into an empty bank account.
That changes everything about how you view a cat that keeps its distance. It takes the human ego completely out of the equation.
It really does.
And the research also outlines grace periods for cats in different stages of life. For instance, what if you have a senior cat with arthritis?
Right. A senior cat might look at that cleared off high shelf and have zero interest in climbing it because it literally hurts their joints.
So the test changes for them.
Exactly. For them, the parameters of the test change. It isn't about giving them vertical dominance. It is simply about noticing them where they are.
And what about cats that just naturally don't meow?
Some cats are entirely silent. They will never engage in that vocal back and forth, but they are absolutely still talking to you.
Oh, so.
They communicate through slow, deliberate blinks across the room, which, by the way, is a sign of immense trust, as it means they are willingly breaking visual contact in the presence of a predator.
Oh, the slow blink. I love that.
Yeah, and they communicate through the relaxed swoops of their tail. And linking back to our earlier point, they communicate simply by choosing to sleep on the rug in the same room as you instead of hiding under a bed.
I just love how this research strips away all the complicated, expensive things we think we need to do for our pets.
It's just about being present.
Yeah. There is a poignant realization near the end of the Whisker Paw video that puts the entire relationship into perspective. It reminds us that your cat is going to be with you for maybe 15, if you're lucky 18 years.
It goes by so fast.
It does. To a human, that's just a chapter of our lives. We have jobs, friends, vacations, an entire world outside the house. But to them, you are their entire universe.
That is so true.
Their whole existence happens within the walls of your home with you.
Which means the quality of that relationship defines the quality of their entire life.
Exactly.
The video offers a very comforting thought for anyone who feels like they've been doing it wrong for years. They say, 4 years missed is not lost. It is never too late to start speaking their language.
Tonight is still the night something changes. So we want to challenge you, the listener, to put this directly into practice. Start tonight.
Yes, try it out.
Walk into your living room and clear off one high shelf. Take the books and the photos off and leave it totally empty. That is step 1, already done.
And then tomorrow morning, take your coffee and sit on the floor for 10 minutes. Bring your physical presence down to their world.
When they inevitably wander over to investigate why the giant is suddenly on the ground, remember the quiet test. Do absolutely nothing. Resist the primate urge to grab them.
Let them come to you.
If they step closer and want to engage, extend one finger 2 inches away from their nose and let them close the gap. And when they finally look up at you and meow, answer them back.
What we've ultimately explored today in this deep dive is the realization that true affection is found by calmly observing and deeply respecting the natural boundaries of another species.
That's beautifully said.
When you stop forcing a cat to accept human love and start offering them feline respect, you transition from being an owner to being a trusted companion.
It completely changes how you look at the little predator sleeping at the end of your bed. And before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Okay, what is it?
We talked about how adult cats invented the meow specifically to cross the species gap. It was an evolutionary adaptation purely for our benefit because we couldn't understand their native language.
Right.
If they were able to invent an entirely new vocal language just to talk to humans over the course of our shared history, what entirely new ways of communicating might they develop in the future if we all started consistently answering them back?